We just launched a flight experience program on the B-17, the B-25, a T-6, and a Stearman. Well, the flight experience program gives us an excellent opportunity to personalize the museum and to bring some life into it. And we have the ability to take 7 passengers on the B-17, 5 in the B-25, and of course 1 in the Stearman and T-6. But the neat thing about it is people get a chance to feel the airplane as it comes alive. It has its own smells, sounds, and sights as you move through the cabin and look at all the various crew stations and the bombers. It gives some folks a chance to reunite with their fathers and grandfathers, and also their mothers. Obviously during the war, a lot of people were building these airplanes in the factories. A lot of those folks were women, and also we've had some wasps that have flown on the airplane. So it's a very great, it's just a great way for people to connect with some family members about something that was a very pivotal part of their life. And the airplane really speaks to folks. We've had some guys who have flown on it who've never met their father. Their father was killed in the B-17, and they've had the opportunity to come in it and experience and sit where he used to sit. And that part is very rewarding to be able to offer that. Of course, people just want to do it because it's a neat thing to do, and that's great, and we love to have those as well. They have a huge smile as well, but the personal aspect of it is pretty special. It's about a 25-minute flight. You're able to, in the bombers, move around to the various crew positions, take a look out the windows and see how the sound's different in each area. You're in the Stearman. We typically do these over Galveston with the Stearman, and the T6 will be out of the paint shop in another couple of weeks, and we'll be launching it. But it's just really cool to fly over the beach on a clear day, and it's a lot of fun. It brings people back to the barnstorming days of aviation, and there's just nothing like flying an open cockpit airplane. It kind of makes you giggle.
Cirrus Design's Vision SJ50 single-engine personal jet offers exceptional fuel efficiency, flexible seating for up to 7, advanced avionics, and all the Cirrus safety features you expect, including the Cirrus airframe parachute system. With its V-tail design, the Cirrus Vision is technologically advanced, yet engineered to be simple to fly, to allow owner pilots more lifestyle pursuits than any other personal aircraft. Learn more about the Vision SJ50 at cirrusdesign.com.
We had a gentleman who flew, he's a pilot in the B-17, and his couple of his children bought a ride to go with him, and as a gift, the whole family got together for him for the ride. And so he went with 2 of his sons, and he must have had 35 family members, ranging from children to great-grandchildren there, and the great-grandkids were old enough to understand what was going on. And it was just a big hero's welcome when he got off, and everyone took their picture in front of the airplane. And I think the emotional benefits that you get from this activity, and it doesn't have to be at the B-17. It can be with any warbird, from a Stearman on up to anything else. It's happened many times, but it's essentially the same story where an older veteran comes up and he sees the airplane, and he's kind of hunched over walking, and he's 86 years old, whatever. He stands up a little straighter, he walks with a little bit more spring in his step, because you brought his old girlfriend home to see him. And then he starts spilling his guts to you about how he was a waist gunner, and he was shot down on his first mission and was a guest of Hitler for 2 years, whatever, or flew 35 missions. The story's the same, just a little different. And the neat thing is he may have a couple of members of his family there who've never heard it. They never knew he was on a B-17. He was in the war. They had no idea about it. And that's what this airplane does. It is a great conduit for folks to share and learn about their family and what their friends and countrymen did during the time. And a lot of times you'll see young kids come around, and their dads will, hey, listen to this guy, he's telling this story, and pretty soon there's 50, 60 people around you listening to them, and it's really neat. So that's how I kind of got hooked in it. My dad was flying in the CAF with the Tora Tora routine with the Zeros when I was a kid. And one day I met Ensign George Gay, Jimmy Doolittle, Tex Hill, and one right after another. How you doing? Nice to meet you and all that. And didn't know much about it. I was 9, 10 years old. Started learning a little bit more about them. You go, wow, I met these guys. I touched history. And that's what I hope we can do with some of the other kids.
You've heard of this thing called WAAS, right? The Wide Area Augmentation System lets you fly GPS glide path approaches without relying on ground-based landing aids. No VOR, no ILS, no problem. Fact is, WAAS is so smart, it even knows what you're gonna say next time you need it. And don't have it on board. Wah, I want my WAAS now! I was really crying there for a second.
Air shows are very well attended. Some air shows get over 100 to even 250,000 people attend some of these large air shows, and for them to be able to come up and touch a B-17 and do like what we're going to have, what's called a Warbirds in Review here in a few minutes with a Tuskegee Airman and a B-17 pilot. The interesting thing about their story is that the Tuskegee Airmen saved the B-17 pilot on a couple of occasions, and they went to 3rd grade together. And of course, they went their own separate ways after the war, and knowing that the other one saved the other's bacon a couple of times was pretty neat. And that's where people can come and listen to that and learn from it. We had Dick Cole, who was Jimmy Doolittle's co-pilot on the B-25 on the Doolittle raid of Tokyo, and to have him speak to 1,000 people that were there and tell them what it was like to fly with Jimmy Doolittle, what it was like to go on the mission and experience the things that he did on it, and just their story of once they bailed out of the airplane, how they were reunited and what their jobs were afterwards. I mean, you can't get this from a first-hand point for very many years. Unfortunately, it's going away, and that's why these airplanes represent a lot. The main reason to keep these airplanes flying in at air shows and in flying museums is what it took for our country and our allies to win World War II. That was a vital time, not just for our country, but for the world. One of the things that I kind of tell some of the kids whenever they're touring through the museum is, how would history have been different if the good guys lost? What would have happened if Hitler won and Japan continued their dominance that they had in the early 40s? I know for sure we wouldn't enjoy the freedoms we have today, much less, how many people would have eventually been killed under their regimes. You can't fathom how it would have been different. And what it took for our country to go from maybe a couple of thousand airplanes at Pearl Harbor in our inventory, and most of them trainer airplanes, to building almost 20,000 B-24s, 13,000 B-17s. What it took for the country and what it meant to the history of the world, and it was just regular people who did it, and they answered a call at a special time. And I don't know that I could do it the way they did, with the sense of a sacrifice and everything else. And when you talk to them, they don't feel they're a hero. They just did what they had to do. They did what their neighbor was doing. I think that was a great time in our history.